So, objects are a way to abstract data in any programming language that supports objects, but this video will go over objects in JavaScript. So, to create a object template, we can create a class. So, this, like I said, serves as like a template or a blueprint for an object, so you can lay out all the rules for how the object will work, methods regarding the object, properties the object has, stuff like that. So let's make a template for an object or a class called uh, and when you're making a class, you need a constructor function. This function is run every single time you create a new object using this class. So, for example, let's say you create a new person, Emily. Person. Boom. Running right here. Well, I guess you could technically get away without using a constructor, but why would you do that, you know? So here, you can have some initial variable or property conditions right here. So let's say name is one of the properties, age, country. Yeah, let's just stick with that. So here, these three, I guess, properties would be gathered from the initial parameters when creating the object. So Emily, I don't know, 48 USA. So now that you're in this constructor function, you can set the object's properties using this keyword, which I went over in another video. Basically, what it does is it references the object you're creating. So when you're using the this keyword, an abstract way to think of it is like, of this variable, of this statement, it's setting the country to USA. It's setting the name to Emily. It's setting the age to 48. So if we want to take out these properties, here we know the name. We got the age. Nice. Now, we can also use like built-in methods. So for example, let's say we wanted to have a method called go to work. And let's say it just prints out a little statement. This dot name. So it gets the name of the object it's running on. So it just prints out a little statement. Whoever is running this object or this method's name, or I mean, this method, get their name, then log it out to the console. Let's try it out. Go to work. So it should say Emily is going to work. Let's remove this comma. Looks weird. So boom. Now, there are other things you could do with classes, such as private, public, static properties and methods. I'm not going to go over them because they're I might go over them in a later video, but they're kind of advanced. All you really need to know is if you want to create your own object. If you want another example for objects, if you've ever used this library, this math, this is an object. Everything in JavaScript is an object. Functions are objects, everything. But yeah, you can use a class to create guidelines for your own objects. With this object, you can represent data in a more abstract way. So yeah. So if you want,